Hey everybody, it's Amanda, and today is Wednesday, and that means it's Worthy Wednesday, and we're continuing our series on overcoming loneliness. And today we're going to talk about family as friends, which I thought was the best thing to talk about, this being the week of Thanksgiving, and everybody should be connecting with their family at some point this week in one way or another. Whether you're making a phone call or you are actually physically able to visit them, whichever way it works, you should be connecting with your family, and that sometimes brings about some feelings. But I'm here to remind you that your family should be your first friends. And let me share with you a little story about that. So of course I have children now. I guess I've had them for a while, but they are grown essentially. So I have some that are out of the house. I have some that are often doing things. Marquise is back from the dorm. And so they're kind of spread out doing their own thing. And Brianna is the youngest still in the house. And so sometimes she misses her brothers and she wishes they would connect with her more. And that being the case, sometimes she gets a little grumpy with them. And she mentioned to me one time that we have a family that we're really good friends with. And she says sometimes she feels like her friends' brothers are more like her brothers because they spend more time with her because she's often in her friend's house and doing stuff and they're around each other more. And I said, no girl, don't get that twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys might be very nice and they're good boys and they might care genuinely because, like I said, our families have been friends for a long time. I said, but they are not your brothers. Your brothers are the ones that if something happened to you, they would be the ones racing out. If you needed money in the future, they're gonna be the ones to help you out. They're gonna be the ones to jump in and take care of you. And let's just say they couldn't physically, they would do their best to try to be there and be supportive in one way or another. Because even though they're at a distance, they're still your family. And even though the other folks are real nice, they're friendly, anything could happen and they could just be like, no, we're not really close to her anymore, and be done with you. But your actual family, they are always your family. And that's just how it is. So because of that, because you have that connection, which is a really special connection and people underestimate it, you really should appreciate your family for who they are and make them your first friends. I'm gonna tell you right now, my sister is my best friend in the world. Aside from my daughter, who is my second best friend, but she has to be my daughter first. So it's a little bit different. But family, you can't break that bond. Y'all got memories together. You got people that you love in common, and there's just so much there that just cannot be broken. Family first. Don't mess that up. But I know that because you're family and because you have a history, sometimes there's some things in the past that might interfere with your ability to be friends with your family members. So I'm gonna encourage you a little bit, try to share with you some things that'll help you be good friends with your family members, or at least get a friendship back in case you're missing on it right now. Now I want to preface this by saying I am not talking about family members that you have serious issues with, and I'm talking serious, abusive, and dangerous sort of situations with your family members. I understand that sometimes you need to step away from that, and I support that. But I am talking about, generally speaking, people just kind of fade away from their family members and they really kind of underestimate the value of them. And maybe even in some cases, there has been some wrongs in the past, maybe some squabbles, maybe some disagreements. I've seen family argue about some silly stuff, and you can overcome that, and it would be a lot healthier for you and for them and for your family at large. So there are some things that you can do to encourage good family relationships and build friendships within your family. So let's talk about how you overcome some of those issues. It's really three things that are key: grace, forgiveness, and love. Those are the three things that you need. Frankly, in any relationship, I've been married for a long time, you need that in your marriage. So, and marriage is really family too, right? So anytime you deal with family members, you got to have those three things to be able to overcome it. So the first thing is grace, and that's goodness that's undeserved. So a lot of times people don't connect with their family members because they feel like they've done something wrong, they don't deserve it, they need to, treat them in whatever way because they haven't earned that kindness, love, respect, friendship back. Y'all, sometimes you got to be friends with people that are in your family just because they're your family, not because they deserve it. And frankly, sometimes you are going to need some grace. You are going to need people to be good to you even though you don't deserve it. So you better give it before you need it, and that way it'll be reciprocated. But All of my examples, I was trying to think of good examples, and frankly, all my examples are biblical. So, I mean, if that's not your jam, I understand, but I'm a Christian, and so these examples work really well for me. So in that case, I was thinking about Joseph. You know, Joseph had all these brothers, and they literally took his coat off, threw him in a pit, sold him. Like, I mean, they really treated him bad. And then later, when they came to Joseph, because Joseph had some authority and they came begging for food, Joseph didn't have to do a thing for them. But Joseph said, you know what, we were all young, we were all dumb. And actually what he really came to understand was that really it was all the Lord who had a plan. And if he wouldn't have been where he was, if it weren't for the Lord allowing that difficult situation in his life. And you know what, maybe sometimes you had some difficult siblings and they were a pain to you, but now that you've gotten older, you see that the lessons that you learn from being that, like, you know what, maybe the Lord just used that in my life, and they've changed and I've changed, and let's just move on from there. So Joseph was really gracious to his brothers. Of course, he made sure he fed them, he took care of them, he just did everything he could for them, because he understood that yet they weren't ever going to get that, he wasn't ever going to get that part of his life back. Things were never going to change. But he could be good to them in spite of the fact that they didn't deserve it. And so sometimes with your family member, you need to do that. And like I said, you might want it for yourself sometimes, so be sure to give it out. Same thing with forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of those things that you've just got to be willing to let some things go. Because again, you're gonna need it sometimes too. You're gonna do wrong things and hurt people, and you're gonna want them to forgive you. So I was thinking about Jacob and Esau on that example, because, you know, Jacob actually stole Esau's birthright. Like, he went and pretended to be him and got his birthright, and was, you know, it was an ugly situation, so that Esau was like literally ready to kill him, and Jacob ran away, and then years passed. And I think this is one of those things too. Time really does make a difference. But years passed, and Jacob wanted to, you know, get it right and make amends. And he really, in this case, he tried to make amends. Where Joseph's brothers didn't, Jacob really tried to make amends. And he tried to give him all these gifts and do nice things for him, thinking that it would kind of smooth things over. But Esau was at the point in his life that he was just like, you know, I don't need any of that stuff. I forgive you anyway. And so, you know, sometimes people will try to make amends with you, and you need to be willing to meet them where they are. Actually forgive them, walk away from that nonsense, water under the bridge. We all make mistakes. Let that stuff go, especially when it comes to your family. That is the time to make amends and make it work. And it was great for them. You know, they actually were able to build their relationship back, and it was good for them. So we can all do that. Even though that's an old Bible story, you can see it in your life right now. I'm sure there are people who have been dealing with some nonsense in the past and just said, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get past it, and they are able to get past it and move on. You can do that. You can move on from that. Love. Y'all, the thing about love is it is sacrificial, and there is no better example than Jesus himself, who knew what we were, who we were, and yet still came to us. Y'all, sometimes the problem with us and our family members is we feel like they should come to us and we don't want to go to them. That's where our pride gets in the way. Let's just be honest with it. And you know, I have kids that are older now. I have one that's moved out of my house and married. And sometimes, you know, after I don't hear from him for a little while, I'm like, why hasn't that boy called me? But the thing is that, you know, I should call him. I don't need to sit around and wait like, oh, I'm his mom, he should call me. No, I can call him. Just believe me, that boy ain't getting away from me. I'm gonna call him after a little while. And so it's not all on the other person. You know, you need to connect with them. You need to make the effort. Like I said, just like Jesus made the effort with us, you need to step yourself out there. But he was also willing to be the one to suffer. Like he knew that we were not perfect, even though he was perfect. And he's like, you know what? They don't need to be perfect. I'm gonna love them anyway, and that's okay. And y'all, this year, don't we need that more than anything? You're gonna go and talk to your family. People are gonna have different political opinions. People are gonna have different, all kinds of opinions right now. And you know what? We can love them anyway. We can love them anyway. Don't get that attitude. This is the worst thing I've seen on social media this year. Out of all the different things, the worst attitude is when people are talking about, oh, we have a difference of opinion, so they are a worthless human being and I don't want anything to do with them. No, there is no human being who's worthless. You can reach out to them, and even if you feel like they are 100% wrong, that they are still a valuable person, they can still be, you can find a way to connect with them, especially if you're family, and you can be loving and kind because you love them, because they are your family, because you have that connection, because it radiates to the rest of your family and to the other people that you love. There's just so much division and unhappiness. We've got to start within our families, making those amends and keeping connections and being loving toward one another. So be the one willing to reach out and do those things. So the benefit of this is that with your family, once you can move past those issues, you have that familial bond that can't be broken. And if you have a good relationship on top of that, it builds everyone up. I mean, once you have that connection and everyone's loving towards one another, it is so special and amazing. You'll feel it, your kids will feel it, your family and their kids will feel it. And it's just gonna start this wonderful domino effect that's just going to continue and ripple out beyond your family. So it is worthwhile to make those connections and sometimes be the one who steps out in faith a little bit. So if you're lonely, I want to encourage you, reach out to your family. Give them a phone call, overlook those past things. Grace, forgiveness, love, those are the 3 things you need. And if you pass those out along with the food at that Thanksgiving dinner, you will have a good time, your family will have a good time, and you'll leave connected with some friends for life, some real friends, some true friends, someone you can't get away from and they can't get away from you. Honestly, it's the best kind. So anyway, that's it. I want to remind you before we talk about any of your other friends, appreciate your family. If you can't appreciate your family, you're going to struggle with all the rest of your friends. I'm going to be honest with you. So start with them. It's going to be good, and you guys are going to have a great Thanksgiving. I know it. So anyway, that's it. You guys come back next week and we will talk about, like I said, all of your other friends. Got some more to talk about with that. And if we can overcome this loneliness, we do not have to be disconnected. This can be a beautiful end to our 2020. So you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.